Okay, in theory, I'm going. Just checking that I'm actually on. Okay, so there's so much to figure out here. I'm just going to assume I'm online and start talking. There's so many things to work out here. I can actually see how people make a full-time job out of this, because there's so much to remember. So I need to bring up, just in case anyone tries to talk to me, which would be shocking, but I need to bring up, what do I need to bring up? Chat. Whatever it is. Okay. Lovely. Cool. So, welcome, everybody. Assuming you're viewing this in the future, because I'm streaming to about no one at the moment. So the point here is I'm just doing this for fun. I wanted to see if I could have a stream where hopefully pretty frequently, maybe once a week, maybe more, maybe less. I'm not even entirely sure yet. I just talked about the drums. I feel like, you know, I've been playing for so long at this point, or what feels like a long time. I guess it's 8 or 9 years at this point, which is crazy to think about. I just have so many thoughts pouring out of my head most of the time whenever I hear any kind of music. And I figured I would try to provide myself with an outlet for some of those thoughts. Yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. This has taken like months and months of effort. You know, it's really funny because like I'm doing this knowing basically nothing about streaming. I'm not really a person who watches streams. I don't have like a super close connection to anyone in the kind of streaming world or community or anything like that. I just kind of thought that this was the obvious outlet for these things. But yeah, if anyone who I blackmailed to join this is actually on, and anything is like too quiet, or if things look weird, just tell me, because then I can try to fix it. And I've worked with this setup enough at this point that, you know, God knows if I don't know it inside and out by now, there's going to be a real problem. So I should have everything pretty much good to go. But if anything is looking or sounding especially strange, just let me know. Oh my God! Oh, there's actual people. I can't remember which one Sticks and Thrones fan is now. Because everyone signed up with a very supportive username, so I can't remember. Okay. Okay, that's Mom. That's a good one. Yeah, I can't. Everyone has these names that are exclusively related to the show, so I can never remember which one is which. Which one is which? Yeah. So I'm amazed that nothing is broken yet. I don't know. This is kind of the point of the entire stream. It's a combination of just like I want it to just be a combination of hanging out and like talking shit and playing. The funny part about this is like, you know, I have this like grand vision in my mind for like exactly how I want things to turn out. And of course, like on contact with reality, things are going to get really interesting. Cause like, you know, I did all of this prep, and I've done some test runs where I've just like recorded myself talking and playing and stuff like that. And they've gone well. But of course, like, you know, the one thing you forget to do when you're worried about all of these like technical things and when you're thinking about trying to like emulate a real like hangout space that feels like natural and good, is of course you forget to do the one thing that you're actually doing the stream for, which is practice playing. So like basically I have these like grand visions for like, you know, starting the stream and then like immediately playing something just like fucking insane. And of course, like I haven't even like touched a practice pad today or whatever. So you're gonna see some warm up in real time probably. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. I like at this point this is all like a total free for all. You know, it's like I don't know how long I'm gonna go for. I don't know what the percentage breakdown is going to be of how much time is talking and how much time is playing. I have no clue about any of that. I'm just going to go for as long as it seems like I can. And I don't, you know, people can all drop out if they want. I don't really care. I'm happy to stream to no one. Because the whole point of this is that I'm so sort of like, you know, just like obsessive about some of this stuff that a lot of this stuff is just in my head anyway. So I'm providing an outlet to just get all of it out into the world. Show the t-shirt. Yeah, so this is something the fiance made. The graphic designer fiance made. Pretty much any channel graphic you see is going to have been made by her. That's part of the goal with all of this, was just to come out of the gate with stuff looking right. Now, of course, again, I had this wonderful grand vision of this room being like supremely dark so that I could control the lighting situation pretty much entirely. You know, I had this vision of like, you know, I have like an Elgato light over here, you know, all of this stuff. And, you know, the stupid little like, you know, Korean streamer light or whatever over here, right? You know, which, you know, in person, if you're here, looks like this beautiful, gorgeous, deep blue, and in the camera lens looks a little bit like a fluorescent light bulb in like an office building or something like that. So it's like 90% of the way there, I would say now that I've worked out all of the technical stuff, and that's close enough for me. This is it really is shocking. Like I've never even really thought about what a streamer's like workflow or anything looks like. I can really imagine how this is like an incredibly time consuming task, because there's a lot to remember, and there's a lot of stuff to work out right at the beginning as well. But yeah, like even if you're seeing like a kind of somewhat crappy stream, the reality is that probably every aesthetic consideration has been taken into account there. It's like totally a ton of work, which I guess I knew from the start. But yes, nice tea. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this along with pretty much everything else is a Keeley special. Because we wanted to come out of the gate with like as much of the look of everything figured out as humanly possible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy to finally be doing this, because this has been planned for so long. So you're probably going to be seeing me again, like I said, like warming up in real time here. But I think I'm going to start out with something that I did maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I was doing a sort of test. Yes, the logo on the wall here that you can see. Yeah, all of this is intentional. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna start with, you know, there were a lot of options to start with. I was like, do I go old school? Do I just talk about some of the, you know, this camera is sitting on a music stand here. I was like, do I talk about some of the like old school instructional books that have been like supremely helpful for me? Stuff like this, like stuff that just no one plays anymore, it seems like, and like how rapidly you improve when you use some of this. Do I just show up and start playing? I had like all of these options, and then I was basically doing a test stream the other week, and I like came across something that I want to talk about. I was basically testing all of the tech, and I wanted to see if things worked, and then I ended up sort of stumbling on something that was like I thought interesting enough to point out. You have a question. What is your question? I'm not gonna like sit here on dead air for too long, but if you have a question that you can fit into the next 20 seconds, I will certainly try to answer it. This is going to be really odd. I truly have not even warmed up today. Maybe I'll do that as well. Maybe I'll just play some stuff in a little bit here. Can I play Baying? I'm assuming you mean Baying of the Hounds, which is an Opeth song. Yeah, I think I can. I don't quite know the arrangement. I would need to practice it, or I would need to listen to it and then try to dissect it a little bit. You know what? How about, okay, I had something planned here, but how about we actually I'm going to look for maybe a live recording of Baying of the Hounds, and see if we can see what's going on there. It's basically like a Deep Purple sounding thing. Like, it's sort of like this death metal song or whatever, but really it's kind of like a Deep Purple-ish, sort of like swing romp for like 10 minutes? I can't even remember. Let's see. God, there's tons of live recordings of this. Now, of course, the amazing thing about YouTube in year of our Lord 2022 is that there's half of the videos that you see are other people reacting to things. So in a horrible way, I'm sort of contributing to that, right? But you're just like looking for a live recording, and instead what you see is like a bunch of people talking about the song. There's no like super professionally shot ones, weirdly. Let me just see. I'm gonna like mute this so you don't have to like hear it blaring. No, weirdly, okay, so weirdly, there's nothing we can really watch because none of the live recordings are very high quality. They don't have it from like any of their live DVDs, it looked like. Electric Crown by Testament. Oh my God. That is not a wow. That is a cool recommendation. That is really cool. I haven't thought about, I can't remember what album that's off of. I had a period of about a year where I listened to that album like crazy. Oh my God, Used to Be Our Signature Song. That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I don't really remember that one fantastically. Let's see if there's a good live version of that one. I know this is the funny thing about this is that like everyone who's on currently is like people that either me or my fiance have like blackmailed into being here. So like everyone's encountering live streaming for the first time and they're like, what on God's green earth is going on? He's just talking. He's not playing. Which of course is like a very jarring experience, I think. But this is like, okay, I'm like not a person who like I don't know who the audience is for most streams, right? Because I don't know who has the time to like watch people streaming for like hours on end. But my understanding of it is that basically my understanding of it is basically that there's a lot of killing time that you have to do. You have to just like fill space, because people are like watching things in the background of while they're like doing their homework or doing the dishes or whatever. So a lot of what you have to do is like, it's more like radio than it is like television or YouTube or something like that. You almost have to like, you're good at filling space. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an acquired taste, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of like, it's more like radio than it is like TV or something. You're just like, you know, you just know, if you have like a radio show, you know that you have to go for 3.5 hours or something. So you just have to do it. And of course, the point of this is that this is all a test run. So it's like, I don't know, maybe this will go for 50 minutes and then I'll just be spent. Or maybe I have no idea. So we're just going to test it out and see what's going on. I'm impressed you're not saying at all. That's probably conscious. I've been on like a quest to try to remove all filler words. I can't tell if this person's username is dcurmudgeon or dccurmudgeon. But I don't know who any of these people are, really. Well, I can guess by most of the usernames, obviously. But you are the one person, dccurmudgeon, dcurmudgeon. I have a couple guesses about who you are. Anyway, let's see here. Oh my god. Okay, there's a music video for Electric Crown, which I don't know that I ever knew existed. Okay, so this is going to be interesting, right? So literally, in order to watch the music video for Electric Crown by Testament, I have to hit one button, and hopefully it will work. And I am so terrified that it will not work that I'm like putting it off. And then you can guess. I think, okay, I see. Okay. Let's watch Electric Crown, because there's at least a music video to this. And I can't remember the year that this album came out, but of course it's going to be an amazing music video, because I can already tell by the thumbnail they're in like a skate park somewhere in LA County, and they're going to be screaming and jumping and pretending to play their instruments, which is the best kind of music video. Okay, so that's going to be really disorienting for a second. Electric Crown. Okay. Hopefully this isn't insanely loud, and hopefully this is actually working. So in theory, what you're seeing is me in a corner somewhere, and then a giant YouTube thumbnail. I don't know, though. Let's see. Oh, hell yeah. You know it's going to be good when the max quality is 360p. That's how you know. That's how you know. Oh yeah, it's like one of these old school thrashers. Here we go, the people's show, victims of tomorrow. The way it goes, it never shows. When deadness or sorrow, there is nothing left inside, nothing left to cry for. So I justify my crimes. This is completely unrelated. What is it about? There was so much beautiful hair in this point in like American culture on men. Like the hair is like this is the amazing part about all of these bands, right? Is that like, you know, you hear these retrospectives on them now, and they're all like, oh God, yeah, we were like, you know, we were scrounging together money for our meals. We were like, there were, you know, 5 band members and our manager all living in one studio apartment together in the Bay Area, yada, yada. It's like, I'm sorry, there's no way that hair was not hundreds of dollars a month. I mean, like, like it's almost as well, in some ways it's better, sort of like better kept than even like the big frizzy permed like glam metal hair of this period, you know, because it's like a makeup commercial or something. I mean, the hair is so amazing. I also don't know who was in the band at this point besides obviously the guitarist is the lead guitarist is probably Alex Skolnick, and then the vocalist is obviously Chuck Billy, who's amazing. I don't know who the drummer was at this point though, which is a great shame of mine. I love these huge, deep tom toms though. Like, look at that. You would have to hit that so hard to generate any noise out of those. Like, he probably rim shots the toms, which is something that like I didn't even really know that you could do. But like, yeah, he probably has to like whack the rim of the tom as well as the actual drum head in order to get any noise out of that, because that's like, those are 3 toms that are all like the size of some modern players' floor toms. You know, like they're huge. They look like they could be like a jazz bass drum almost. That's how big those are. And the funny part is, you know, it's obviously in a music video, but I also bet that that was also just the kit he played live, which is a truly insane kit to play live. Like, things are so sort of like surgical and precise and technical now that it's like there's no way a kid like that would make it onto any stage at all. Like, it would be completely verboten to put something like that on stage. You would need these teensy little drums and things like that so that they could be mic'd up really easily and all of this stuff. But yeah, there's something gloriously not like teenage boy. It's just like, I want a really freaking cool drum kit, and I don't care how it sounds.
So alone, the way it goes, the life that you have wasted. You never know where it might go. Sweet success you tasted. Wearing your electric crown, the preacher starts to pray. Shiver as the lights go down. Heed these words I say. As I wander, change of seasons, I can't ponder.
I'm shocked at how pretty this song is. I mean, I know that sounds weird to say, but it's very like, it's a little like sing-songy. This is the interesting thing about like this period of all thrash metal music, is that it's a weird combination of like really, I mean, super intense stuff that was like on the cutting edge of what was at the time like brutal metal music. But then like on the same album, you would also get these types of things, these like kind of mid-tempo, straightforward romps, you know, with like really good choruses and like really pretty like bluesy pentatonic guitar licks thrown into the verses, which are all over the place here. That's like a cool. So the next thing I want to do here, I would like to show you all this thing that I came across when I was warming up. This is a totally in the weeds drum thing, and then I'll play in the aftermath of showing you all what I mean. So this is the time, if you have other things to do with your day, to consider dropping out. So this is I'm just going to show you this. So basically, I created the YouTube channel to be able to watch stuff, and basically I just like found a live video and was just testing out to see if I could actually show you my laptop monitor with the picture-in-picture with my face still up in the corner. And I like came across this because I was just picking something from a band I liked. And this is Blind Guardian. I know that my mom is probably freaking out in the chat at the moment because this is one of our shared bands that we both really love. Certainly one of my favorite groups of all time. They do like a power metal, nerd metal thing, but I think it's actually pretty. It's more sort of like. It doesn't sound like comic book music or something, like a lot of this European power metal stuff. It sounds like it's supposed to be funny or something, whereas Blind Guardian makes like actual music, which is why I like them. But there's sort of been a persistent ongoing thing in the way that their albums and their music in general sounds for like maybe a decade at this point that I think it's interesting to point out on the drums. So just we're going to listen to just like the first minute or so of this, and then we'll just have a chat about it. This is a wonderful song. It's very atmospheric, very moody.
Give it to me, I must have it. Precious treasure, I deserve it. How can I run? How can I hide the cigarettes?
Just listen for the drums.
Soft tweet, I never belongs to me. Oh, it's sweet, all the darkness floating around. We are following the will of the wall.
We'll go to like the end of the chorus.
Through the dark age and into the storm. And we're following the will of the one. Through the dark age and into the storm. Lord, I'm me.
Okay. So, let me switch this. There we go. What is nerd metal? I've never heard of it. It's sort of like, I'm trying to think of good bands to give you an example of what I mean. There's a band called Rhapsody. That's a lot like what I would describe as this kind of nerd metal. Rhapsody is a good example. I would say there's a German band called Halloween, which is a pretty good example of this. What else? Dragon Force. Dragon Force is the classic example of this. So nerd metal is like it's fantasy themed, it's sci-fi themed, it's something in that vein, right? Both lyrically and as well as musically, because then the music, if it's fantasy themed, is oftentimes kind of tinged with like neoclassical harmonies and stuff like that in the guitar lines and stuff like that. But a lot of it just is like, it's just like reveling in this cheesy quality. Like it's very, like if that was too much for you, if it's a song about like, it's a song about the Silmarillion, right? And it's called Into the Storm, and they're singing about the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. If that is too much for you, like you won't be able to do like the cheesier version of power metal, because it's like that plus it literally also sounds like it's trying to be like, an opera or something like that. It's just very over the top, usually very unsubtle, very little in the way of dynamics, stuff like that. There's a lot of great albums in that genre, but like whatever. So this is an ongoing problem. So like out of all of these kind of power metal bands, I think it's just like inarguable that the best is Blind Guardian. They're the only ones that actually, I think, aren't approaching it with this sense of like irony. And they're actually just like straight up trying to make really good music. And they're not like going for this like, oh, it's going to be like reading a fantasy novel, like a pulp, fantasy novel from a used bookstore. It's like they're not going for that. They're trying to like take it a little bit more seriously. And, you know, there's an issue with it, which is that over the years, and this is especially relevant because there's a new album that's going to come out soon. Over the years, the sound of the band, the way, not that the parts are written, not the way the music is composed or the way the vocals sound or anything like that, but literally the production and the mixing of the band, literally how it sounds, something has gone wrong. So like I see, like, you know, Mom, you've said louder. The reason I didn't turn it louder is because when I tested this, I turned it louder and like it literally hurt my ears. There's something going wrong with their production, and the worst part of this is on the drums. The drums, for some reason, sound like they have been mixed and recorded by producers and engineers that are suffering from pretty significant hearing loss. I don't know if that's actually true or if that's just like a good metaphor, but that is what it sounds like. Though that was not fuzz coming from my computer or something weird like that. That was how that recording sounded. It sounds like you are hearing that recording through like a layer or two of foam core, right? Like that is how that sounds. And I have never seen a reasonable explanation for this. And the thing that I want to emphasize here is that this is not a knock on the drummer himself. He is the second drummer in like the entire history of the band. He's been there for maybe about as long as the first drummer has. He is an institution unto himself within that band. He is a fantastic player. Inexplicably, his kit just doesn't sound as good as any other drum kit in a modern metal band. Every album that he has been on, I think his first album, studio album, was maybe 2003 or 4, something like that. Every album that he has been on has had this sound where it's like there is an entire layer of sort of the sound source that is just like stripped out of his drum kit. There are no, like, all of the higher sort of shimmering, trebly things are just not present in his kick. Or, well, his kick, but his kit. Like, his snare drum has no crack to it. His cymbals sound like dead. They almost sound like they have cracks in them or something. They sound like broken cymbals. It's almost as if someone has just taken the unmixed raw audio that a microphone would capture when you put it up to a crash cymbal and hit it, and that's the sound of his cymbals. Like, there's no mixing. Just like, let's just, similar to when Metallica took out Jason's bass, no? I think that's a good comparison point, because basically you similarly are, you hear the sound that's coming out of that's coming from the microphones, and you're immediately like, something's really missing here. Like, it's immediately obvious. Like, now that I've talked to you about it for a second, just like listen to that chorus again for a second. And hopefully I won't do what I did when I was trying this last time, which is I went maximum like boomer mode, and I couldn't make the YouTube. I couldn't like use the mouse properly. Like, I kept trying to find the chorus and I physically couldn't get to it. It was like maximum, like, oh, I'm a geriatric now. So hopefully I haven't done that here. Like, where is his snare drum? Like, you can kind of hear a hi-hat. You can kind of hear some toms. You can kind of hear a snare. You basically can't hear a bass drum. And the reason that I point this out is just because, you know, they're touring again because they're about to have an album come out. I need to change this. This is the sickening view that gives everyone vertigo. There we go. Like they're touring again because there's an album about to come out. And so the problem here is like there's going to be a lot of people who are like seeing them live or something for the first time. And basically like my problem with this is that like the songs are great. All of the singles off of the new album are great. Every musician in the band is great. The guitar work is amazing. There's even some songs I would say in like the mid period of Blind Guardian when there was a guy named Oliver Holsworth playing the bass. There's even some really interesting kind of bass parts in some of the mid-period Blind Guardian albums. And, of course, you're in a band where the lead vocalist is frickin' Hansi Kirsch, right? Everyone in this band is amazing. Frederick, the drummer, is amazing. He has earned his place in that band. And he's an incredible player. And if you're hearing that live for the first time, if that's the first time you've heard that song is on this stream, I hate to say, you have absolutely no clue what like the structure of that chorus is. Because you can hear the vocal line and then everything behind it is just mush. It's just muddled, you know? And even like when you compare it to the nerdy metal bands, it's like at least the nerdy metal bands have old school like, you know, the drum sound is very clearly influenced by like old school like glam metal and stuff like that. So the snare is like gated and it really cracks and stuff like that at high tempos. And so I'm just going to play that chorus, or maybe the first minute or two of that song from my memory. And the funny thing is, I'm going to play it worse than Frederick in that video is playing it. And you will be able to make out clearly what the rhythmic structure of that part of the song is. I'll start in the pre-chorus, and then I'll launch into the chorus, and maybe I'll come back out of it if I feel like playing more of it. And I still need to warm up my feet more. I'll keep playing. And then who knows? Maybe I do need to play more. I've been talking for so long. So how about I'll solo for a little bit or whatever. If any of you say anything, I won't be able to see it right away, but I'll have a look in a couple minutes here. But maybe I'll play and I'll solo around a little bit and warm up before the kind of grand finale of what I have planned here for what I'm going to actually try to play correctly. But yeah, let me play for you that song so you could actually hear what that part is supposed to sound like. And then like think about how little of that detail is captured by the way that it sounds in the live recording, and just think of how disappointing that is. Just we're gonna play it. You'll hear it. Okay. See, the problem with this is I should really have a clock somewhere because I could have just played for about 90 seconds or 20 minutes. And I have absolutely no clue because I wasn't keeping track of the time. Yeah, so the first part of what I played there is from my memory what the part in the chorus sounds like. And then I just went and screwed around for, again, either like 1 minute or like 20 minutes. No clue. But yeah, just briefly, let me just hear this again. And think of that part, right? There's a lot of weird stuff in that part. There's an offbeat crash cymbal on like on the E of beat 4. Pretty much every other measure of the chorus. There's like dun digga gun digga gun do da goose, right? Where the emphasis in the measure lands right at the end of the bar and not on a downbeat, right? There's also weird stuff like where there should be like a good strong backbeat on the snare. There's two like full, if anyone uses a DAW software, right? A full like 127 velocity, tom-tom hits and stuff like that, where there should logically be a snare. There's like a weird, like fake Roomba beat, right? Doom ga, doom doom ga, doom doom ga. So it moves. It's a chorus that in the drums at least moves through like 3 or 4 different kind of modes and textures in a really short time span over this really soaring, nice vocal line that if you get out of time, if you screw it up, sounds like garbage, right? And he's playing the part perfectly. He's playing it perfectly. It sounds great probably in his ears, right? Like his sound is probably like, oh, I played that perfectly. So like, why is the person who's mixing these drums and even these guitars and vocals, why are they doing all these band members a disservice by like basically cutting out, just shearing off whole sections of like, I think it's just the treble. Like, I don't know. And the only explanation that I can think of is basically that they must have a crew of real pros that they've worked with forever, that they really love, but they're a similar age to them, and they've been touring with metal bands for their whole life, and they're sound engineers, and now their hearing is shot. Which is just interesting because there's no other metal band of this size that I can think of that suffers from the same problem, right? It's like, Metallica's last album. Those guys are getting up there, right? The last album sounded great, right? There's no other band, and obviously this is not the same leagues, right? Metallica is like, as popular as like a pop artist, right? Metallica is as popular as like Ariana Grande or something. So it's a different type of musical atmosphere. But I think the point stands. It's like you can even look at similarly sized metal bands. They don't sound like this in a live context. But yeah, just bear with me and just listen. Yeah, it's like you can hear he's in time. He's playing the parts perfectly. Why can't you hear in any detail? Why can't you hear in any detail what the part actually is? You know what I mean? It's just like sad. But I just wanted to talk about that because it's maybe my favorite band, certainly one of my favorite bands. And literally that was like the first video I watched when I set up the sort of YouTube account for this. You were talking about you were talking on Metallica. Yeah, so I was Death Magnetic comes out I think it's 2008, right? It's like posed in the marketing as this sort of thrashy comeback album, right? And then there's like this freak out over it, right? Because basically people, there's the album version that you could buy in frickin' Walmart or whatever because Metallica is so popular. And then there's, you know, the Guitar Hero version of the songs from the album, and people discover, right, this like old piece of internet lore, if you remember this. People discover that the tracks in Rock Band or Guitar Hero, one of the games, they sound way better, right? And then basically what it's determined that basically, you know, Guitar Hero got the sort of not fully processed, you know, stem files that they pulled from. So it's just like the produced audio with no additional sort of like mixing on it. And then on the actual album, it goes through a mixing procedure where it turned out that they just boosted the volume on everything so that it sounds like this screeching, crashing, banging mess, right? And this is like one of the main things in the loudness wars, right? Yeah, so they ended up, you get a different version of the album that has better tracks on them. And then basically, like, if you listen to the new album, I mean, in my opinion, you can even listen to like the shitty quality, you know, versions of the songs encoded on YouTube. Like, go watch the Spit Out the Bone music video. The album after Death Magnetic from a couple years ago, it sounds like immaculate, right? It sounds like perfect, you know, like it sounds like simultaneously like the best parts of a Metallica live performance and like a super crisp, like surgically clean thing, you know? And so it's like, there are bands that have figured this out. So it's just upsetting to me because, like, you know, Blind Guardian is a band that deserves to sound immaculate, and particularly the drums, because they've had two really great drummers, really like powerful, strong, fast drummers. But anyway, my plan here is maybe to play some stuff or warm up a little bit more, and then I would like to finish out the stream, which is still going for a little while here. I want to finish it out with a Dream Theater track that I have been practicing my ass off to try to be able to play as well as humanly possible. The goal is to play The Glass Prison by Dream Theater, which is off of the 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence album. It's 14 minutes long. It's not the most technically complicated song. The arrangement is insane. That's really the issue. So I think what we're going to do here is I'm going to play a bit more. And I think what I'm going to do is just warm up, particularly my feet, because there's a good amount of double bass in The Glass Prison. And then we're going to try for that. But I'll pause in between when I do those two things. So if you're tuning in or whatever, you know what's going on. I might just like solo a little bit. Just to get some time feel stuff down so that my limbs feel a little bit better. And then I think I want to maybe continue the warm-up with a Sabaton song, which is one of these more kind of cheesy bands. I'm using this Moises app, which is a great app if you're a musician, by the way. Like I had that thought about the Blind Guardian song. The Moises app, if you literally took that Blind Guardian song and stripped the drums out and I played over it, the drums would sound better than that live recording. So this is a really impressive app. This lets you basically just strip any instrument tracks out of pretty much any song. It's super useful. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it is. It is great. Since Metallica made you repurchase DLC for Rock Band you owned, they pulled rights and on their own label. Ah, gotcha. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that I actually... Oh, that's interesting. Huh. That's like a little bit of like Metallica lore that I didn't know. Yeah, so I stripped the drums out of one of these Sabaton songs, which is Night Witches, which I like because it's kind of a fast rocker, but it's also pretty straightforward at the same time. So it's a pretty good warm-up, but it lets you play kind of fast. So I think we're going to warm up with that, maybe solo a little bit more, take a break for a couple minutes, then I'm going to try The Glass Prison 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, as many times as it takes until I'm satisfied with the take. and then I'm gonna return to talking to you all. So yeah, let me play the Sabaton song, maybe solo a little bit, and then I will be hopefully at that point ready to approach The Glass Prison by Dream Theater. So here we go. That one is so fun. Okay, that one is so fun. I'm maybe gonna, maybe solo a little bit, and I don't know, maybe play that again, just because I realized it's actually a really good hand warm-up, because the hi-hat's going the whole time. So, yeah, I'm just gonna keep going here, because I feel like I've talked so much. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, by the way. I'm, like, literally just figuring this out in real time, so if the balance of talking and playing is not right, it's because I've never done this before, and I'm figuring it out in front of you. So hopefully this all makes sense, and yeah, if I play another song, I will tell you what it is, but I might play that again. Depends on what I am feeling I need to warm up. I still feel desperately that my feet are not ready to go for Dream Theater yet, so I'll let you know. think I figured out something that I would like to play that will warm up my feet, but I'll just tell you what it's from. I'm not going to play it to the song because I don't know the structure of the rest of the song. It's pretty simple, but there would be some parts that I know would mess me up. The part that, if you know the band Lamb of God, you will know this part. At the end of the song, Ruin. Again, if you know Lamb of God, you know immediately what I'm about to say. There's a part at the end of the song, Ruin, with a pretty wacky looking drum fill. It suddenly switches from sort of triplet time to straight 16ths. And then it cuts into this weird double bass pattern in 7. The hands are like really simple in the 7 part, but that's assuming that you get through the fill successfully first. It's sort of like a typical metal fill, but with some added stuff. So, you know, there's quads in metal music, which is like 2 on the hands and then 2 on the feet with double bass or something like that. It's sort of a weird version of that where it's like 2 on the hands and then either 3 or 4 on the feet. You're just fitting a lot of notes into like a 2-measure drum fill. And then you kick into this weird double bass pattern in 7. But it's really good warm-up because basically you have to sort of land in the correct... You really need to make sure you're landing on the correct foot, which in my case, if you haven't guessed, I'm a lefty player. So you need to begin the measure on your left foot every time. But the pattern is odd enough that you can really get mixed up pretty easily. So I'm going to just like play that through a couple times, and hopefully it doesn't sound too insanely awful. want to try to play something at super speed, right? Because like inevitably it sounds like garbage, right? But it's always kind of fun. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna have a shot at The Glass Prison by Dream Theater. By on the drums, one Mr. Michael Portnoy. It's not the most technically complicated song. There are parts of it that are, totally doable. As the new drummer in Dream Theater, Mike Mangini, as he likes to continually explain to the public at large, he is in fact really good, and actually a lot of this stuff is beneath him and is really easy. Not to sound like Mr. Mike Mangini, but it's like the parts themselves are actually not that difficult, right? Which is something that he would say. But, the thing I don't think he would say, but which I will say, at least for me at my skill level, which is nowhere near his, is that the thing is not the parts themselves being particularly difficult. It's really the arrangement. The last, again, it's like a 14-minute long song, and the last maybe 3 to 4 minutes, something like that, is almost entirely like, if I were to compare it to the drum world, it's like all of the other instruments are essentially doing like one long, unbroken, linear pattern, right? Which in drumming language means basically like a string of notes in a given subdivision, right? In this case, like 16th notes or 32nd notes, where basically there's not a single note missed. So basically every measure or every beat, every subdivision in that unit is filled, right? So like, here's an example of something that isn't a linear pattern on the drums. Because there's all that empty space. Now you could create a similar effect and just use dynamics, but you could fill up the entire bar with notes so that a single note isn't missed anywhere. That would sound like this. So the second one there is an example where like there's always something going. There's always a note that's happening, right? It's like, this is not linear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So that's essentially what's happening in the last like 4 minutes of the song, with all of the other instruments in The Glass Prison by Dream Theater. So basically, like, what you end up with is a situation where, like, essentially you have, like, a guitar and a keyboard and a bass that are constantly, like, moving and circling and undulating around, like, the root note of whatever the chord is in that part of the measure. Right, and it's just this like muddy sound of like a million notes flying at you at once, and then basically like the drums are doing like very specific patterns to sort of like match that, and it's just instrumental. There's no vocals to kind of give you a sense of place. There's kind of like an outro where the vocals come back in, but it's after this gigantic like minutes long solo section, right? So basically, like, to keep your place is, like, vital. And, it's not like it's testing the limits of the upper limits of like my double bass speed or like my rudimental chops, right? After all, this is Mike Portnoy, who's like ultimately a sort of classic heavy metal drummer or something like that. And it's like it's really more about how the whole thing is arranged, and the arrangement is like almost impossible. So basically, I haven't been practicing this for as long as like I would say when I was doing like the Dance of Eternity, right, for Instagram. Like when I was recording that for Instagram, that took me ages. Same thing with Dark Eternal Night, actually, because Dark Eternal Night has some really kind of exhausting, endurance heavy stuff in it. But this is not as much that. The endurance is more actually just like psychological. It's more like in your memory or something like that. So, basically, if you see me mess up, the way that you're going to see me mess up is either I'm going to get slightly out of sync with the track and then have to course correct and come back to it, or I will just like lose my place. Now, the good thing is I've practiced this so much that I don't think that I'm going to lose my place. So hopefully we can get a good, clean run of this here. And if it is, anyone who's online, thank you for being around for it, because I have been practicing this for so long, and I have put so much sweat into this song. It is like I have like been working out with this song for what feels like maybe 2 months now. So if I can get a passably clean run on this live, I will be very happy. So strap in. We're going to be here for 14 minutes. It'd be really funny if in the meantime I get like copyright claimed and the channel gets like taken down like as I'm playing. Wouldn't that be amazing? Okay, we're going to see. See you on the other side. I should tell you, the drums on this are going to be slightly too quiet, and that's intentional because it's the only way that I can hear the music, just to let you know. Okay. That was pretty close. I mean, yeah. That's about as close as I've ever gotten. It was like 93% of the way there. Would I be happy to post that to Instagram? No, but I'm never happy to post anything to Instagram. No, I think I think I would. I would maybe, the advantage of the way that I play and my like kind of inherent Luddite qualities in certain ways is that that I'm not faking anything. So I would probably have uploaded that take to Instagram. Maybe I would have selectively edited around some of those transition points. But you see what I mean? It's like, the opening half of the song, right? The pace is like, what is it? It's like, and then it transitions to, and then the final section is kind of somewhere in between. It's like, it's maybe back to the initial tempo in the intro or something like that. But like the tempos are not insane. You know what I mean? It's like they're not off the charts. There's tons of like Metallica songs or whatever that in certain respects would be much harder. It's really just that it's a combination of the length as well as the arrangement of the solos to actually be in metronomic time, to be support for the other musicians, particularly when you're playing to a recording. So there's no kind of natural sort of undulation of time that you get when you play with other people, right? It's like to really lock in and stay there is like totally whack, right? I mean, like it's really difficult. And, it's interesting, right? So this is the Glass Prison. So this is the first of, I think, 5 songs that Mike Portnoy, the drummer, wrote. I mean, he wrote more than 5 songs. He wrote like probably 40% of the songs when he was there or whatever. But one of the 5 songs that he wrote, which was about his experience in the 12-step program. So basically, it's like a song where each of the songs has a different number of the steps in it somewhere. And what's so crazy about it is that live, you can find all of the live recordings, and it's crazy because what they'll do a lot of times is they'll play different parts of what he called the 12-step suite, which is this group of 5 songs. They'll play like 2 of them, 3 of them, like back to back in the orders that they appeared on the albums. So like they would play this, and then the idea is that they are one consistent suite, even though they're spread across the album. So basically each of them, sort of the last measures of the previous one will tie into the intro of the next one, right? So they're meant to kind of be listened to as a suite. And that's really cool, but like they would launch out of this song and then go into another, the second song of the 5 called This Dying Soul, which is like another like 11 minutes of like the style of the song is like really rocking heavy drums. Like it's another like thrashy, fast, solo heavy, weird time signature tracks where it's like it's similar to this, where it's like there's nothing individually where it's like, oh, this part would be like really impossible to execute. It's more that it's like, no, in context, stringing all of these different parts together is really difficult. And then the style of the whole thing is this like maximum velocity heavy metal drumming where you have to play really hard. And of course it's Mike Portnoy, right? It's not some like, blue coat snare drummer or something. So he's not doing like little like, ooh, rudimental flourishes. It's like, no, he is like caveman drum fill style. Like everything is a right, left, single stroke roll at like maximum velocity, right? It is like heavy metal drumming in this like prog rock context. And they would play like multiple parts of the suite together. So they would play like 30 minutes of music like this or whatever. And so like the endurance for that is crazy. I mean, you can literally see how like sweaty I've gotten. Now, I am not the most in shape person on the planet, but I have lost 40 pounds in the last like 6 months. I'm much more in shape than I was, and I am still, I'll put it to you this way. It's very intentional that we made the shirt black. You're going to be seeing a lot of black shirts and sweatshirts here. That's pretty much exclusively what you're going to be seeing. So I don't know. That's a pretty good one. The fill at the end, which leads into the outro, is always the part that gets me nervous, because it's just a big mess of notes. Again, like individually, plenty of other things that could be played there that would be more technically difficult, but transitioning out of the part into that fill is like impossible. Let me just play for you that last section into the outro. I'll stop once we sort of get into the outro, just so that you can hear that fill, which I always get nervous when I know that it's about time to try to pull it off. Yeah, so that's that fill. It's like sextuplets. Digga 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 da. Digga 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 da. Digga digga digga. Which of course itself is an odd time signature because these last two toms shouldn't be here. It's like a beat, depending on if you're counting it as the subdivisions are eighth notes or 16th notes. It's either 1 or 2 beats too long. And of course, the sound of it needs to be right too, because it's a transition out of a busy section. So you're really trying to like use this little last part of the fill to pare down the sound and pull back a little bit so that the vocals can come through. And so like there would be easier things to play there that are actually more like balls to the wall heavy metal, or are even more technical, but it sounds wrong. So instead you have to do this actually totally alien thing, which is that after you've been in full like octopus mode for the past 12 minutes, you now just are using your one arm, which is actually much less natural. Like here's a version of that fill that's the same amount of time. It'll still have the odd measure in it. It'll be a beat too long, but something that would actually maybe feel more natural to play. That would make more sense because then you're at least actually bringing all of your limbs with you. Instead, it's this. It's like, oh, so you've just been like thrashing around wildly, and now you have to just completely cut the right side of your body off for just like a second. And of course, if you don't like nail that, it sounds like total garbage, right? So it's like very high stress. even though it's actually like very simple. And the funny thing, there's an instructional DVD that Mike Portnoy put out where he plays it, and I play it the way he plays it on the DVD, which is he puts the bass drum underneath it. So while it's going underneath it, he's going. If you listen on the album, he doesn't even do that. It's literally like he plays with one arm. He transitions out of it, and it's literally, you have all four limbs that you've been using, and now you're just going doink, 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 doink. It's more stressful than if you were playing like super metal quad, you know? Like that would be easier, you know? What is the, and then of course, I solo for a second or two at the end of that song because, supposedly there was supposed to be a 20-second drum solo outro on that song in the original studio recording, but the next song I think is like a very mellow, chilled out, sort of like experimental period Beatles or Pink Floyd type song. So like a really like kick-ass drum solo like would have made zero sense, but I just like to envision the alternate future where there's a drum solo at the end of that. By the way, I should actually cite my sources a little bit there. So two of the licks that I keep playing in the solo section, I am kind of stealing from other people. There's one from, no, I think they're actually both from Craig Reynolds, who's the only person on Twitch who's actually doing an interesting drum stream anymore at all. No one else is doing it well. He's the only one who's doing it, but he has an old video where he talks about one of his like flashy fills he likes, and it's this one. So that's another, it's in a 3 feel. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. But there's some groups of 2s and 4s, so it gives this weird falling down the stairs feel. And I've stolen that from him. I tried to mess with the sticking so that I'm not literally just plagiarizing him. Put it on different surfaces and stuff. And then it's a 6-stroke roll, which is something that I couldn't play and have sound good for years. So now I just play them all the time because they sound good. So it's almost becoming a bad habit because I can now play them, which is the sticking is like. That's just full disclosure there. I'm pretty sure I'm stealing that from Craig. I feel like you should teach a college class on the drums. Oh God, if anyone would tolerate listening to me blab on for however long I've blabbed on for. Oh my God, I've gone for 2 hours. Holy crap. I was gonna say something ruder there, but then I remembered that people from my real life are listening. I don't want to curse in front of them. Okay, so maybe just to break up the session a little bit here. Maybe I'll play just something else, and then finale is maybe I'll do one more of the Glass Prison or something like that. So you have a couple options here. I have a ton of stuff that I could play. The problem is I could play something that's maybe a little more straightforward and therefore maybe a little bit more boring to watch, but that I can play well. And then I could play a couple of things that are very fast that I have absolutely no confidence that I can pull off. How do I feel? Well, I can tell you how I feel. How about I'll just practice the fast stuff and then I'll tell you if I can play the fast stuff today. I'll just play a little sample of it, and then if it sounds like crap, or if it sounds like crap to me, at least, I won't do it. Okay. Okay. So the negative part of this is I'll probably be exhausted if I try to play the Glass Prison again, so I might sound worse. But I might try to play the fast thing. This is Black Dahlia Murder, which is not a nice name. I'm realizing how like comical some of my music taste is, because it comes off as like it's sort of like when you meet someone who's like really into the bad old Italian horror movies. The giallo movies or whatever they're called, where it's like they're intentionally cheesy horror movies. It's like some percentage of my music is literally just like cheesy, like death metal or something like that. But Black Dahlia Murder is great. Very sadly, they had their vocalist pass away recently. But there are tons of bands that I know of where the drummer is amazing, and consistently something you hear. I know that this is the case for the drummer either in Job for a Cowboy or Atreyu. And these are like metal bands I don't really like. They're kind of like weird, super like brutal, like American bands, but their drummers are fantastic. And basically like there are interviews where it's like, how did you learn to play at those speeds? And like multiple drummers you can find in interviews have said basically, I just played along to the Black Dahlia Murder until I could stay in time. And that's exactly right, because the songs are basically like, they're essentially like if you took like a pop music structure and then like put it into this insanely like brutal context, because the songs are all short. They have like some prettiness in the guitars and stuff like that, but then they also kind of move through modes at this pace that's like really kind of fast and nice. You know, it's like they move from one part to the next in this really great way. But like, yeah, the drums on probably the best album they ever did, which is Nocturnal. The drummer's name is a guy named Shannon Lucas, who has unfortunately done like very little music after his time in the Black Dahlia Murder, I think. He's just like losing his mind in the background of like every song that he's on. And he's another example of someone who's not maybe, like there are people who are technically way better than him and have more like control over their rudiments and their time and stuff like that. But he has this kind of like, his playing has this kind of exuberance that makes it feel like you're listening to like an old Slayer demo or something, where like it's just so blazingly fast and he's just ripping around the kit at all times. So yeah, we're going to try the first song, the opening track off of Nocturnal, which is called Everything Went Black, which is a sort of Call of Cthulhu-like story about a city getting eaten by some giant thing. This is a drum stream. I don't know why I'm telling you about the lyrics to these corny-ass metal songs. Cool. I might come in at the wrong time because there's like a fill that I can never predict when it comes in, but I'll try. You'll see. If I mess up, you'll see. No. No, was not quite ready for that one. Oh man, yeah. So this is it's actually good that I played this on the first stream, because this is actually a really good point for the future going forward. Is I've spent how many years? Sorry, I should take the mic farther away from my face when I'm drinking water, so you don't have to hear like horrible like mouth noises. Anyway, I've spent how many years trying to play both sort of metal music.
To continue, I need access to your Spotify account.
What is going on? You all are hearing that, right? Oh, that was my phone. I don't even have a Spotify account. Anyway, I've spent years and years and years trying to get good at the drums in a bunch of different contexts with a focus on heavy metal. The reason that there's a focus on heavy metal is because I was attracted to the double bass thing. But I've since, expanded my horizons. I play a little bit of fusion, some other stuff. I'm trying to sound less bad at everything so that I can be a good all-rounder. But so much of my time has been spent on heavy metal music. And after all these years, I still, for the life of me, cannot really play a very good blast beat. If you want to see what I mean, you should go to my Instagram, which I have linked here, and look in my series tab, and look for the Carcass song, another funny name for a band. It's like in Ace Ventura when Cannibal Corpse is there and everyone's like, Cannibal Corpse. It's like, oh God, you can't unironically listen to Cannibal Corpse anymore, can you? But yeah, look for the song by Carcass, a band that I love, with a drummer that I love, Dan Wilding, who I met very briefly at a show. He was very nice to me. Who has a great podcast, if you're a drummer, by the way. There's like a very, very straightforward couple blast beats in that song. And like you can hear how hard I'm concentrating for it to not just slip out of time, because you hear particularly the bass drum foot, just desperately skittering all over the tempo. And it's really, like, I really tried to keep that locked in. And that is like a not that fast blast beat. And I don't know why. I don't know why I'm not good at them. It's like the one barrier I can't break is like, Nick Pompella, metal drummer, can't play blast beats for shit. It's like totally crazy. And since there's a ton of like people from my real life here, I should explain what a blast beat is, which is, so it's basically, if you've listened to any old school heavy metal, you have heard the thing that pre-exists the blast beat, right? So old school Metallica has the thrash beat, which is basically like an oompa beat. It sounds like a really fast, loud polka beat. Dunga, dunga, dunga. And basically from that evolved a bunch of variations from that. Into punk music, into other heavy metal music, tons of variations. So let me just play some variations of that. So whatever it is, it's basically some variation of just like a fast, fun-sounding, upbeat, do-ka, do-ka, do-ka. And the hands can change, the feet can change. We were talking about sort of nerd metal earlier. A lot of those drummers have developed a very specific sound that actually you can sort of instantly recognize and make fun of, which is that actually you do consistent fast feet underneath it, but then there's a very specific hand pattern that they play a variation of over top of it. You can hear it in all of these cheesy power metal songs. Sounds like, basically, I'll play you the hand pattern, and then I'll play it with the feet under it faster so that you can hear what it actually sounds like in a song. So the basic pattern is this. And then it'll be played at like, maximum scorch your hair off tempos. You can almost hear the lyrics about dragons and stuff. It's just very happy and operatic and fast. But a blast beat is essentially, if you've listened to any old school heavy metal, you've heard that kind of beat. It's all over. Go listen to And Justice for All. Go listen to Blackened, right? The opening song. It's like the best Metallica song ever, right? Even though it doesn't have Jason's bass in it, right? Whatever. I should play Dyer's Eve on here at some point. I need to remember the structure of the song, though, if I'm going to do that, because the structure is really weird. Anyway, a blast beat is essentially the next level of that. It's the most amped up version of that. So if you think of it in terms of a sort of musical historical lineage of drum beats, right? The predecessor to that thrash beat is basically like what you would hear in any old school rock music, right? So like an Alex Van Halen beat, right? Essentially most thrash beats are an evolution of that. You can imagine, like, you can play a thrash beat in halftime and it sounds like a Van Halen song. Basically what a blast beat is the next level above the thrash beat in terms of intensity, right? So basically the lineage goes from one to the other. So I'll play you like a simple rock beat and then how that might transition into double time in thrash metal. And then I'll play a blast beat and you can hear that it's basically the same beat played at double the speed again. So it's essentially quadruple the speed of an old school rock song pattern. So that last thing is a blast beat. So you can hear it. It's if you slowed it down, you would hear a Van Halen song. That's all it is. And for some reason, I just cannot make my limbs do that very well. Because it's like that, what I just played, that's like the slowest blast beat that a person would ever feasibly play. Most blast beats are leagues beyond that tempo. And there's all sorts of combinations. There's things where the snare lands on the downbeats, and then there's ones where it lands on the upbeats, and there's ones where you're supposed to only do it with one of your feet, not both of them. There's ones where every hit has a bass drum underneath it, and then there's others where only the hit on the cymbals do, right? Ones in triplet feels, right? All sorts of stuff, right? And I know that this is a problem because even like the best metal drummer on the planet right now, Eloy Casagrande, who plays in Sepultura, also has said like, I'm not like a super great blast beat player. And you can tell that because any song where he plays a blast beat, it sounds like, he's Brazilian, obviously. It sounds like a samba beat or something. He plays like a kind of groovy, slower blast beat. And when you look at his face when he's playing, he's clearly playing at like 200%, right? But there are guys who are just like will play blast beats like circles around him at that tempo. But of course, Eloy's blast beat is still awesome. It sounds great, But like, yeah, like it'll be like a groovy slow blast beat. So like, I'll try to play the Black Dahlia Murder tempo.
I'm drowning and I'm hopeless on my own. I can't restore my sanity alone.
Huh. I know it's getting better because the exhaustion level after I'm done playing it has gone down drastically over the last month. Cool. Well, how are you supposed to end one of these things? Do you just stop? I don't know. Does anyone know? How are you supposed to stop a stream? Do you just say bye? I don't know. You want a t-shirt? Yeah, we've had many conversations about this back here. They're very I mean the logo that Keeley made is really amazing. And it's like exactly what I was hoping for too. It's like perfect. So, and of course the typeface is great. It's all great. It's all so nice. Oh my God, you're still watching. Why are you doing that? Anyway. Okay. Well, this was fun. I went for 2.5 hours, I guess. Yeah. So this was a test run. If things didn't work, just like chat them at me. Or literally all of you, I think, have a phone number, so just text it to me. And I can try to fix stuff in the meantime. Besides that, yeah, I'm going to be back. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this on Saturday next weekend. I think it makes more sense to do it maybe during a weeknight going forward. But I'm going to try to keep it on a schedule rather than just like doing it like flying by the seat of my pants in terms of the scheduling. I would like to have it on. I would like to know, a week in advance when I'm going to be sitting down and doing this. I figured I would just do it on Saturday just in case things went horribly wrong or the tech didn't work and I had to like fix stuff on the fly or whatever. Made sure I had a lot of time to do it. But yeah, I might do this on a weeknight going forward. Maybe some Saturdays if it's like really going to be quiet or we're not doing something. But yeah, I'll work that out going forward. Still going to be posting on Instagram probably. Maybe I'll post some clips from this on the Instagram. I also, like I said earlier, I created a YouTube channel. So my plan is when all of these are done, when every stream is done, I'm going to download it onto my rig here and then just put them up on the YouTube channel so that there's a permanent home for all of the streams. So that's the goal going forward. All of this is just boring logistical kind of bullshit stuff, though. None of it's very exciting. But yeah, this was fun. Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll talk about some of the books that I'm trying to work my way through very slowly. There's tons of potential topics. So I don't think I'm going to be stopping running my mouth anytime soon. So I plan to do this in perpetuity going into the future. But I appreciate you all for joining me. I think that's going to be it for today. And yeah, if you want to join again, I'll just look out for the time next week. Again, I don't think going forward it's going to be Saturdays necessarily. But if it changes, I'll put something on the Instagram page or something, and I'll change the schedule here so that you can actually see when the upcoming ones are going to be. But I'm going to work that out in the near future here. But yeah, thanks for joining, and break out of your glass prisons or whatever, and keep hope alive. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. Bye.